In today's video, I'm going to be putting Photoshop's AI up to the ultimate challenge. The idea is simple. I'm going to take two images, one landscape and one portrait, and I'm going to feed that portrait into Photoshop's AI and ask it to expand that portrait into a landscape. We're then going to compare to see how Photoshop's landscape compares to the real landscape that I took with my camera. There's going to be three different difficulties with this. We're going to go easy, medium, and hard. So let's jump into the easy image.
So our first shot is going to be an incredibly easy one. I've got the R6 with the 50mm going down a pathway that leads directly into some trees. All I need to do is take our first landscape photo at f9 and 1/40th of a second. And that's what we want AI to try and replicate. So what we're going to feed it is a portrait photo by flipping this around and taking another shot. So now that we've got those images, let's take the portrait into Photoshop and see how AI can expand it, see how close it gets.
All right, so we are back in the office in Photoshop. And as you can see here, we have our portrait photo as well as our landscape photo. And I'm gonna show you guys just how easy it is to use Photoshop to expand this image. So the first thing that you're gonna want to do with your portrait is come over to the cropping tool and then hold down Alt on your keyboard. Now, when you hold down Alt, it just means that when you bring the right side forward, it will also do it equally to the left side as well. And we can expand this as much as we want to. I'm going to do it to about this part right there, just so it kind of matches the same aspect ratio of our original landscape. Now, the next thing you want to do is hold down Control on your keyboard and then come over to the layer of your image and left click. You'll notice that it's now selected just the portrait part of the image. Now we also need it to do the entire thing as well. So if you do Control, Shift, and I, you'll notice now that everything is selected. That's when we can come over to Generative Fill and simply type in expand my image and hit enter on the keyboard. Now, a couple of things, you'll see that a generating bar has come up and also three windows are loading on the side. This is where we're gonna get three different options to play about with our AI results. So let's see what comes of this. There we go. It's expanded the image and it's even put in like some sort of foreground tree in front of that. I'm not gonna lie, these other results look terrible. What is this? Oh my God, what is that? What has it done? What is this even meant to be? This is the easy version and it's just thrown this at me. Well, I guess from the three options that we've been given, this is the clear winner. So let's compare this AI image to our original. In all fairness, there's really not too much of a difference at first glance. But if we kind of just like step back and pretend that that tree isn't there for a second, when we switch back and forth between the two images, it's done a fairly decent job, especially when it comes to the left-hand side. Now, it's only really when you start to zoom in that we're going to start noticing some flaws. The first thing you'll notice is that there is a clear distinction if I run down the screen with my mouse as to where the original image is compared to where the AI image is. It's just a blurry mess, essentially. Another thing as well that you'll notice is that when it comes to all of this shrubbery down here, when you actually inspect it, nothing really makes sense. There's no continuity. It is actually just a jumble of pixels and colors, which, yes, that's what an image is, but there's no correlation as to what these pixels and colors are actually doing. They're just trying to mimic what they've seen with our original image. But if I had to rate this out of 10, I'd probably go with, considering everything that's going on in this image, I'd maybe give it a 4 out of 10. So let's see if our next shot will rate higher than a 4 out of 10.
For the medium difficulty of this video, we're going to be taking out the DJI Air 3S, and the plan is to get this up into the sky and to find a random set of patterns that is really going to challenge the AI. Right, so let's get this up into the sky and see what we can get.
Home point updated.
So we've got the drone up in the air. You can see it's a very nice, bright and sunny day. So essentially what I'm looking for is I'm trying to find random patterns that AI is going to really struggle with getting. So I'm just going to fly this around until we get something really, really cool. Here we go. Here's something. So it looks like I'm onto something here. We've got loads of bushes. We've got loads of trees and pathways. So let's try and get the drone up a little bit higher. Okay, I'm quite a big fan of this composition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it into photo mode. So let's just take a snap here and see what we think. Okay, honestly, I'm very happy with the photo that we've got. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna press a button that is essentially gonna bring the drone back to its home, and I won't even have to touch a thing. So I'm not doing a single thing right now. What you're looking at is the drone flying itself, returning to home. My plan is to catch it. Let's pan it down. There we go, there we are.
Hello. Here we go. Come on.
Like a glove.
Back at the PC again. Now, the Air 3S isn't actually capable of taking photos in a portrait mode. So what I've done is I've just taken the original image and I have cropped it into a vertical mode. And we're now going to ask AI to expand this. I have high hopes for this, but who knows what it's going to generate. Whoa! We have some sort of a swimming pool reservoir looking thing down in the left hand corner. I don't know where it's thought of this from because there's no water in this image, but I guess Photoshop was like, hey, you need water. If we look at the original trees at the bottom, we can kind of see that there's like a lot of branches and a lot of just things going on. And the way it's interpreted it is almost as if it's like a painting. There's no individual branches in the AI section of this image. It is almost like brush strokes almost. It doesn't look real. It's even done the exact same with our bushes that are going on here. You can see nice, sharp, individual leaves. And then as soon as we break into the generated part of the image, again, it just turns in sort of like to a brush stroke. Let's see what else we've got going on because I want to get rid of that swimming pool that's on the left. Now this looks a lot better. What about option number 3? There's a lot of mess going on the left-hand side again. So honestly, option number 2, there, I actually really like this because I think at first glance, if you went to pixel peep this image, you could probably get away with this being a full image that wasn't generated by AI. And I feel like it's done an even better job than the first image with how much it looks like a painting on this side. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to the trees down here, we're back to these brush strokes. But the lines of the bushes follow along very nicely. The pathway that it's generated has come along nice. It's generated a nice patch of trees over here. Rating this out of 10, I'm going up into probably a 6, maybe even a 6.5 out of 10 that I'm going to settle on. I'm actually very, very happy with this image that is generated. So let's get back out into the field and go into our hard image.
So for the final challenge, this is the hard challenge. You can probably barely hear me, but we've got cards coming to and from the camera. So we're going to get a very, very long exposure. I'm working with 15 seconds and an aperture of f6.3. The goal is to get the cars coming to and from because now the AI's got a lot to work with. It's got moving light trails, it's got cars, it's got noise to deal with. This is going to be a very interesting one. So let's take this landscape shot. And there is our landscape. That is perfect. We got the red, we got the white, we've even got a planet up there as well. So that looks amazing with a bit of a sunset. Now let's get this flipped over to portrait and get out of here. We're going to set up our focus for the middle of the frame. Exact same settings. I'm going to wait for some cars on the left because there's a bit of a dry spell at the moment. All right, let's go for it. 2-second timer. And the picture's being taken, 15 seconds. We're just going to let the cars drive by and hope that this one looks as good as the first one, because that first one, that landscape, I'm very happy with that. Do you know what? This portrait has a lot of the cars in it already. I think I need to whip out a different lens and give it less context, because that has a lot of context. So the AI really won't have much to do there. We need a zoom lens. So when we were working with our last lens, the photo gave the AI a lot of context and there was nothing for it to expand. So I've switched over to the 70 to 200 and I'm going to zoom right in on the middle so that we have a lot less to work with to see how Photoshop reacts to that. So I think that composition there, which basically shows nothing, is perfect. The only issue I've got at the moment is the fact that the lens is so heavy that it's dipping the tripod down. So for these 15 seconds, I'm gonna literally have to support the lens so that we get a sharp image. Let's see what happens. 6 seconds this time, should be plenty. There we go. That is what we're looking for. Very, very little context, especially when you compare that context to this context. There's hardly anything going on there. I wanted this challenge to be a hard one for Photoshop. It's got its challenge, so let's get it into Photoshop again and see how it reacts.
All right, we are back indoors where the audio is a lot cleaner. Now, this picture was taken with the 16 to 35mm f2.8 lens, but when it came to the portrait version, I did switch to the 70 to 200 by Tamron so that we were given Photoshop a lot less details to work with, so that it actually had to use its computing power to generate something for us. So let's do the whole process again and see what we get. Now, even though I've brought it out to the left and right, I do want the image to generate a bit more going on with the top end as well. So we're really giving Photoshop a lot to work with. This is our original portrait image, but all this checkered section is what I want it to generate. I have a feeling that this is going to be a mess, but let's have a look. Oh no. What is that? Why is it giving me a frame? Oh my God, it looks like a picture frame. That is so bad. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm looking at those other results on the right and they're definitely looking better. We're gonna pretend like that one didn't happen, but take a look at the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Wow, wow, now we're working with something. Look at all these different colors that it's got going on. Now, naturally, the left-hand side is where the cars were driving away, so you'd think that all the lights should be red like it is in our original image here. But the one that Photoshop has generated for us is giving us loads of different lights. We've got orange, red, pink, blue, and then the right side is just a complete and utter mess. There's our original white lights, and it has carried that on, to be fair, all the way up to the image. They all drive to one particular point where they're all conjoining, which makes sense. But as we go a bit more to the right-hand side, we get a load of red mess again, as if we're looking at the left-hand side of the traffic. And then up at the top, we're just working with some sort of city, and it's broad daylight as well, even though in the original image we can see it's clearly nighttime. I mean, we got a planet going on at the top, sun has clearly set, but I guess when we stripped that out of the image, Photoshop didn't know what time of day it was, and it was like, hey, you know what, it's kind of bright, I guess. Blue sky. So I definitely gave it a challenge by giving it very minimal information to work with. The result that we've gotten here is extremely interesting. It's very artistic. Don't get me wrong, it looks nothing like our original landscape. It has more of an artist's interpretation on it. In terms of art and style, I'd give it, quite high points there. But in terms of replicating our original image, which looks like this, don't forget, I'm gonna have to probably settle on a 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. It was really interesting to see Photoshop's results. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.